G'day there and welcome back to another episode of Dirt and Dints. Now this episode is part 2 of the rock slider build, so if you haven't seen part 1, click on the link that will pop up in the corner here and check that out to see the start of the build for the rock sliders. There is so much work to do in this episode, so we're going to run the opener and then we're just going to jump straight into working. You won't see me stop and have a chat for a little bit, so let's get into it. And welcome to Ty's magical voiceover mode. So, as we left off in part 1 of the rock slider build, we had just gotten the pipes bent, and you can see him here. I'm getting my old man help, and what we're doing is we're using the string line to mark our cuts back to flush 90 degrees. It was a bit easier using a string line than trying to work out bevel gauges and use the speed square with the angle finder and that sort of stuff, because we knew what our distance was from the actual gap was. So you can see the two little square tubes, that's the actual gap that we're having. We're chasing a 50mm gap, so we knew that we could put them on the pretty much the edges of the bend and run the string line to the corner of them, and that gave us our 50mm mark at the back, and then we flick it to leave the chalk on there, and that pretty much gives us our cut line for the pipe. So we'll finish off this one, and then I ran around it after the string line. It was a bit hard to see, so I ran around it with just a silver marker, just really open it up and see. So you'll see in the next few clips where I'll actually angle grind them flush, and then I'll stand up and you can actually see that they sit pretty well. So enjoy. And here we have Rusty giving us some quality assurance of the job and make sure we're doing it all right. Enjoy the Rusty and Ember content.
Alright, so now that we got the main body of the rock slider all cut and tacked onto the main tubing, we can now start to stitch them all together, and after we stitch them together, we'll have a look at the brackets we're going to be using for the actual rock slider. Alright, so that's all stitched together really nice and well. So now we'll have a look at the brackets. Now, these are the brackets that I got custom made up from Quality Sight Welding in Warragul. They're really good if you need some custom little jobs done. There you go, done a really good deal for these. So what we've got is basically some plate steel that they've bent on one side and had to weld on the extra side just because they couldn't do a full U-shaped bend. And we've got 1/2 inch high tensile bolt, 2 washers and 9 lock nut pretty much to hold on to the chassis. So the dimensions I gave them will pretty much slide straight up the chassis rail and bolt it on nice and securely, which is awesome. So we'll throw them on and we'll start to measure up for our braces. Well, like I was just explaining, you can see here we've got our 1/2 inch bolt plus our, so there you go, bolt goes over the top, and then plus our bracket which slides underneath nicely our lines and some wiring, so fits perfect. We'll zip up those nuts and bolts, and then we'll measure from this face across to our sill here, which is where the actual body of the rock slide will start. So we'll measure that and then we'll start cutting them to suit. So you can see the back side of that bracket, and then these 2 brackets just there and there. Yeah, they went in so bloody easy. That one up the front there was not too bad, but we've got these lines that run along the back here, so we're gonna have to try and work something out to get it to fit there. So you can see there's the mount for the old sliders, and those lines there already look like they've been bent, which I don't want to bend them anymore. So we'll have to work something out, maybe move some of the brackets closer together. Might be able to fit one up there. Might have to undo that mount there and maybe put a longer bolt or some washers to space it out. So let's have a look. Alright, so we did have a couple of issues with this last one. Because obviously got our fuel lines up here, which you can see, and then our handbrake cable here. So, and also got the lip of the fuel tank here too. So I actually had to cut the bolt to fit in there too, and I also had to grind down the edges, it's a bit hard to see, of the bracket there too to fit in under all the lines without pinching anything, doing any damage. So, but now we got that all fitted in, we'll start to measure up the braces to come from here up and then under this little lip here. So we'll measure them and then we'll cut them all and stick them on. So to make sure that I measured it square, all I've been doing is holding my speed square off that lip flat there and then let it rest, and then I know that I can measure it from there. Or I've also got this magnetic tape measure, which I'll try and do one-handed, and then pretty much clip it if it wants to hold. Like that. And then I can pretty much hold it up to the bottom of that lip. Like that. And then find out my measurement. Which there looks like it's about 170. So we know that our first piece can get 170 cut to that lip there, and then we'll roll it 20 degrees off that. So when we mark with the angle, it should sort of roll out like that, and that's to have that flat tube up and then come up around there. But like anything we do, we'll just do a test piece and then we'll check how it fits and we'll readjust. So just so you see what I'm doing too, we've got this last bracket here, which it's a bit hard to tell, but the actual chassis takes a bit of a dive in on a degree back in towards the centre of the car. So we'll have to do a bit of a bevel on that side to have it come back out 90. But underneath, I've just found that the sill has actually taken a beating. Obviously hit something and it's knocked that sill in. So we might just get a block of wood and then smack it out and try and roll it back flat just to create a nice sill again, but we'll have a look. Alright, so we've got our cross members for the sliders all cut and beveled in. So obviously you can see nice 90-degree cut in the back and then a 20-degree roll on the front. So obviously when we stick that square tube with the round or the main body, it will sit on an angle and come up and protect the bottom of the door sill plus a bit of the door. Now for this one, because like we said, the chassis takes a bit of a dive in, screw out the way, we've had to bevel that back edge to match. So the easiest way that I found to do it was with the actual brace on the chassis. I had a bit of an offcut, so I used the offcut. Hold that to the bottom under it where it meets, and I could just scribe the line where it sat 90 degrees using the square off that end. I did get some help with the old man for this one because I don't have enough hands. So we held it up, made sure it was 90 off the door sill and the rest of the members there, and then mark and scribe it. And then Ember's been helping us out too. So now we've got them cut, we'll go tack them on to our mounts, which are on the car at the moment, and then we'll see how they're looking. So now we've got them all on. So now we'll put the actual main body of the rock slide, which is just there, up, we'll tack them, make sure all the tacks all hold, and then we'll drop it all out as one big unit and then weld it all in and stitch it together. So now we've got the slider tacked on, which is bloody brilliant. So now I'm going to rip them off and finally stitch them all together. So let's hook in. starting to get a bit foggy in here from the actual fumes, so we might just set up the fan and start blowing around because I'm inside a closed shed and I don't really feel like gassing myself today. So we'll put up a fan, then we'll keep going. Alright, so now that that rock slider is all welded together, I'm going to actually finish the episode here. So now you've seen the one side, it's pretty much the exact same on the other side, so there's no point repeating it. The episode's getting on for length and time anyway, so we'll cut it short here. You'll actually see the rock sliders fully finished in the next episode when we actually paint them up with the canopy, the tray and everything else, and then we'll eventually do the cab respray as well, and that will be in the following episode. But for now, hit that like and subscribe button if you've liked the build so far. Comment what you'd like to see me do next in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.